Hi, I'm Casey Bell, and you're watching Writer to Writer Interviews. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Writer to Writer Interviews. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today's writer are Ronnie Ashmore and Dr. Chonta Haynes returns for another episode. Let's get this show started.
Dr. Haynes, I just was researching you and seeing that you have several works out dealing with finance and spiritual side. What led you to that side of the ministry?
That's an interesting question. I'm going to say I've been teaching for the last 15 years in theology. And one of the things that I noticed is that there was a disconnect between the theology and theory and the practical application. So, and one of those major areas was the area of finance. Now, when we look at this current pandemic, I recognize that everyone is in need of this, an economic change, if you would, a transformation. And that happens when we get the right wisdom, when we know what we're supposed to do and we actually do it. So that's how I ended up doing that. I will tell you, I do have a passion about it because I hate the charlatans that have come in the church and have taken advantage of so many people. And, you know, they sell it on TV all the time. But if we really know what we're supposed to do and we take that personal responsibility, then I think we'll all thrive more appropriately and we'll be able to move forward.
So to follow up on that, your advice is more grounded in biblical principles than some of the name it and claim it or prosperity stuff that is on TV.
You're absolutely right, but I will say prosperity is available. You know, that abundant mindset we really should have. The prosperity is not just wealth and money, but it's also peace. It's also a good journey. It's wisdom and prudence. All of that is in the definition of prosperity. So I believe in the prosperity, but I'm not the one, I don't give you a get rich quick scheme. I don't tell you, hey, if you turn around 7 times, your debt's gonna go away. That doesn't happen. And so there's strategic steps that you need to take in order to live an abundant life. But I believe we're supposed to do just that.
In looking into research for you, Dr. Haynes, I've seen that you have several works. You've got podcasts, you've got charities. Explain or expand on that, if you will, some of the works you've done, some of the books you've released, and give us some insight on that if you'd like.
Okay. Well, I do have one of the things. Let me say this. The name of my company is Heart to Heart Truth Ministries, because I believe that true learning is not head to head, it's heart to heart. In other words, you don't want to know how much I know until you know how much I care. If I care about you and I really want to see you succeed, then you'll start listening to what I have to say, because you know I'm not trying to take advantage of you. So when I put the things together, I started off with the workbook, Financial Wisdom for Financial Freedom. It's a do-it-yourself workbook that gives you all the practical steps. You can pick it up, you can go through it, you can get it done. But then I found while I was in the classroom, that was developed in the classroom because they were getting the theology and theory, taking the test, passing the test, but their finances were still jacked up, for lack of a better word. They were just not doing it. So that's why that was developed. Then a couple years later, or 2 years ago, I ended up doing Not Just Paper, which is the theology and theory, what I've been teaching in the classroom for the 15 years, because everybody doesn't want to come in the classroom. So at least you will then know what some of the principles are, and you'll be able to get that information, God's way of doing things as far as money is concerned, so that you would be able to thrive. So you marry the two of those together. In the midst of the pandemic, in July 1st, actually of 2020, I developed Divinely Connected Steps to Fearless Financial Freedom. Now that one's a devotional planner. So it gives it to you in bite-sized pieces. That it's a 52-week planner that each week you're going to not only have the devotional part, but you'll have one specific task that you're going to think about for that week to get done. So by the time you finish the year, you've now accomplished all of that, and you're not overwhelmed thinking that, hey, you know, I can't do it with the do-it-yourself. I'm also in the process right now of releasing by the end of this year one that's dealing with biblical financial personalities. And that's actually going to be a full Bible study, but it's looking at your money mindset, how you handle money, how you relate that money with other people, whether it be as a Christian entrepreneur or even as couples, how you can relate together and do a better job with money and thrive. So you truly are destined to prosper.
Interesting. Talk a little bit about your background, if you would, to just inform me what your financial background is. You said you teached and you did all this, you taught.
Mhm.
What is your financial?
How did I come up with all of what I came up with?
Yes.
Yeah. Why listen to me, in other words? And I really like that question. I started off, my original degree is in electrical engineering. And so I'm that left brain thinker, systematic approach about everything. So I have a bachelor's and a master's in electrical engineering, my minor computer engineering. So I'm always learning, I'm always trying to do something. But then I have a bachelor's, master's, and a PhD in theology. And you're saying, okay, well, those two still don't marry. But then I also have a bachelor's in Christian counseling. I've been counseling couples on the financial side of the things before they got ready to get married, premarital counseling, as well as some individuals on what they needed to do with their finances. Let me take you back. I grew up not with a silver spoon in my mouth, definitely not. I grew up where both my parents were struggling. Both my parents were teachers. But we as children didn't know that there was a struggle. However, when I got ready to go to college, I went to Georgia Tech. When I got ready to go, I recognized that it was going to be a little bit of a strain on the family, right? But I have a brother that's 2 years behind me. So when I recognized that if I stayed in college for 4 years like normal, for 2 years, there would be some extreme struggle because both of us would be in college. So what I recognized was, and this is where some of that financial decision-making comes in, is I recognized that college tuition goes up every year, right? And it still goes up every year. Well, if I got out earlier, and I think you're kind of freezing there, but if I got out earlier, then I would effectively reduce that increase, and that would save us money. So I ended up graduating from Georgia Tech in 3 years. So that kind of started me on that process of what do I need to do? My dad was a math teacher, big into looking at the stocks and tracking them. And we, for fun, would figure out the probability of you winning the lottery. We did that several times and it was like, this does not make any sense. So math was ingrained. That's where some of the engineering comes in as well. But it was ingrained in me to find the best methods in order to succeed. So yes, you're gonna start with saving early. I started saving as soon as I got out of college. My first job, they had a matching program with the 401k. I started doing those things. And so I started watching how you were gonna increase, learning about Rule of 72, going through all of that. Not only on the money management side, which is where I try to stay. I don't want to get into teaching somebody about the investment. I'll show you how to do it, what you need to start thinking about, but I'm not a financial advisor. There's a difference. I'm a financial coach. I do the biblical money management, and I make sure that you know the strategies, the systematic approaches, the debt reduction, the credit. I go through savings, investing, automatic. I will help you be an automatic millionaire, but I'm not going to then tell you what products to put your money in. And I like it that way because then I can be authentic with you and tell you up front exactly what you need. And you know that I'm not getting a kickback on the back end. So
great. That is fascinating. You mentioned you have something coming out at the end of the month or this year. Mm-hmm. What else is on your horizon? What have you got going? I mean, you're always busy, it seems.
Yes, I am. It does seem that way. I am doing a coaching program as well. One of my passions is working with women. One of the things that I also research is the fact that 70% of Americans die in poverty. That should not happen. Over 80% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their bank account for savings. And that's sad. And so what we've been doing in the economic footprint, we have been kicking the can down the road, assuming that somebody else is going to take care of us. If you look at the current population and the thought processes, it's this entitlement mentality. You owe me. I ought to get just because I showed up. In other words, I showed up and I look good, so you hired me for my looks. I don't have to do anything. In the world that we came in, and I'm just assuming your age, in the world that we grew up in, you earned what you got. And so there was a shift that happened. But one of my passions is I recognize that women in general don't do well when it comes to finances. We're told that you're not supposed to know much about math. You don't like math. And there are a lot of people who have an aversion to math. And that should not be so, especially if you can relate it to what you do every day. If you want to get discounts, you need to know percentages. If you want to then make sure that you're saving enough for retirement, you need to know what Social Security is going to do, how they're planning. They're looking at 35 years worth of work experience, and they're dividing that to give you your distribution. You need to know what that distribution needs to be at 70 and a half. You need to know all of these things so that you can make the wisest financial decisions. But women, for the most part, have relied on somebody else to do that for them. And they get to a point sometimes at a crossroad or overwhelmed, whether they get divorced, or they are widowed, and then they're at a loss. But they're also available then for predators to come in and take advantage of them. And so my heart right now, I started a coaching program in order to coach those women that are at that crossroads or in that life change to then be able to succeed financially. So in one instance, I have a financial success program, but I also have a financial advance program, which would then help those that say, okay, I've got most of it together. I just need to tweak my plan so that I can do the best that I need to do going forward. So coaching is on the horizon, as well as, some additional books. I think that this fourth one is going to be the last one that I have under the financial area, because there's some other areas that are coming. I work with a lot of women. I have some women's groups, so I've got a couple that are coming out with that, books coming out with Sister to Sister, as well as one on prayer. So a lot of things on the horizon for me anyway. Not sure what else. There's probably a lot more.
Fabulous. Well, I've become a big fan of yours in doing this research. So I appreciate everything you do, and I hope you continue to find blessing in it.
Amen. Well, I appreciate that too.
God wants you to prosper, not somebody else, not someone down the street, but He wants you to prosper. He promises to be our exceeding great reward. God has a great plan for you. 3 John, verse 2, it says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers."
Well, hello. I wanted to send you a personal message to say thank you for ordering Divinely Connected Steps to Fearless Financial Freedom, the devotional planner I'm sure you're going to enjoy. And my prayer is that you will be in connection with God Himself, and that He will speak through the words on the page to talk to you about your financial situation
and other things as well. So that's the key that's within that he can talk to you about anything that's going on. I wanted to come on not only to personally thank you, but to give you some value. The last devotion that's in the book, I thought about even moving it to the front, but it's also a good place to end, and I think God did that for a reason. What I'd like to do today is I want to read to you that last devotional so that you will have something to go forward with this week. I want you to consider that. At the beginning of the book, I went ahead and put in the 7-day prayer challenge. It is a financial prayer challenge. It will have a song link in there. It will also have a meme in there. Put your email address in to start sending you those things. Now, it's going to be in your book, but I'm giving you a head start on it. How's that? Because I think that you're going to just really benefit from this. And I am so excited to have you come along with me. So let me read this last one for you, or this devotional for you today. The word comes from Habakkuk, chapter number 2, verses 2 through 3. And I'm just paraphrasing, cutting out little pieces here. It says, "The Lord answered me. Write down this vision clearly, inscribe it on tablets, so one may easily read it. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It testifies about the end and will not lie. Though it delays, wait for it, since it will certainly come and not be late." Thank you, God, for vision. Clear vision. Has God spoken to you about your life, your family, and your finances? Has He ordered your steps in your business? Has He directed you regarding your gifts? God speaks, and we should listen. The visions that God gives are not minor, easily attainable imaginations. Usually they seem enormous, greater than anything one can accomplish on their own. Often it involves areas that you don't have all knowledge and will need assistance in order to do. Ultimately, it's going to require divine intervention. That's how you know that it's from God. It's a God-given vision. It can't be accomplished by one human in a short time. So what is the vision? Write it down. The God we serve, when He gives a vision, He will also give the provision for what He orders. Thank Him for His grace and faithfulness. See, God's grace covers the areas we are unsure of, and He gives favor in the areas that we need. Imagine the God of the entire universe that created all that we see, the oceans, the sky, the clouds, and rainbows. He still thought He needed one of you. You are valuable. You are a valuable piece in the equation. Go ahead and step into it. He built you for this. This week, write down the vision. Set your God-sized goals and watch God intervene to achieve them. If you don't know what to write, take a moment to ask God to speak to you. Write the vision as clearly as you can. Keep writing. Keep asking. Document it all. This is our starting point, and it will be a testimony when all is accomplished, or all is said and done. Get ready to watch God show out on your behalf. Now contemplate that for the rest of this week, and you'll hear more from me. As you start getting those prayers, go ahead and pray. Use those as your devotions as you move forward, and you'll be able to do them even the more as often as you like. Thank you again for considering me and giving me the privilege and the honor of speaking into your life and taking you on a journey with our Heavenly Father and fixing your finances. It's gonna be grand.
Heart to Heart Truth Ministries. You can find us online at htruth.org. At Heart to Heart Truth Ministries, we're helping believers live an abundant life based on God's Word, standing on His promises, walking out His principles, sharing with God's people, serving as unto the Lord. Mr. Ronnie Ashmore, I'm loving the fact that I get an opportunity to interview you, because I did the same thing. I went and researched you, and you just had this brand new book that came out. And I'm going to tell you, from the very beginning, as you start reading, it is truly intriguing. It's awesome. And I think that it might stem from some of your background. So can you tell us a little bit about your police background?
Yeah, I've been a police officer for quite some time. I started in the jail in 1999 and worked my way up to the streets, promoted, and eventually was a chief at a couple of different organizations. I'm currently the chief of police where I'm at, and always had an interest in writing. I've written some poems, some short stories. They got published back when I was younger in college, and always wanted to write a novel. And I had these characters from that first book in mind for years, and I finally found what I thought was a good story to put them in, and we went from there.
Well, when
and
you
it has been.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say it has been well received from the ones who have read it. So I appreciate your words.
Yes, I did. I went through it. Now, let me ask you this, though. The story, because I'm looking at Family Secrets on that one. Is that a real life story that you kind of adapted? Was it from your experiences?
There is more truth in that story with a lot of creative licensing.
Okay. Well, we can do that when we write, right?
That's right.
And
That's
I
the fun
find
part.
it more interesting, I think, when you do have some of that true life. I can really feel it. I can really understand it. And I have an idea of someone who could have been in that situation. And one of the things that I do like about that story, too, is you go in the background. It's not just the criminal, but it's more of why they did the crime. Yes?
Yeah, in my opinion is that not all crimes are created or committed by criminals. Sometimes it's people that think in their mind they're doing the right thing. And you just have to explore that. And that was the fun part for me in this story.
How did you explore that?
Putting the criminal in a situation that was, either way he went, it wasn't going to be a winnable situation, and trying to figure out a way for him to get out of it, and trying to get our heroes, our police department, which are the heroes in this story, a way to prosecute that crime, to arrest the offender. So
it does really humanize police officers from one standpoint. And I know with the current, let me just say at the beginning here, I appreciate what you do. It's not an easy job, and there are a lot of criminals that are out there. There are a lot of good cops, and there are also those that are not so good. When you're writing, though, do you utilize some of the current events, some of the social injustices? Are you planning on possibly putting some of that inside one of your other stories?
maybe. Book 2 is already being written, and it doesn't touch on any of the social stuff that's going on right now. That's a hot button topic that I feel I'm not distant enough from to write on it objectively.
Okay.
So as it goes on, I may incorporate it into the stories, but right now I just feel like it's too close, and each side again thinks they're right, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I know that not all cops are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that the good cops hate a bad cop just as much as the public does.
Exactly. I like to see some of that come out too, because I think that is a valid point to play. But let me ask you this. What's your inspiration for writing?
I've just always wanted to tell stories. I grew up at an early age. We were poor. We didn't even have a spoon, so much less a silver spoon. And I got into reading Westerns mostly. That's where my passion is. At a young age, probably 8 or 9, I started reading Louis L'Amour. And then it went from there, other stuff, other writers, other genres. And I just always wanted to tell the story. I just always wanted to tell stories. So I'm trying.
I think you did a great job. But let me ask you this. In telling your story, is there a purpose or something you want to get out of it? What do you want your readers to then think once they're done with the story?
With the Colby PD stuff, I would just like for them to see the real side of police work, not the TV side where everything is solved in 40 minutes and, it's all wrapped up by the end credits. That sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's aggravating, and it's not always black and white, or there's a lot of gray that you live in there. That's what I mainly want to get through. And then for the Westerns, I just want to be authentic in telling tales of people that really left everything behind to branch out into an unknown place, an unknown situation. I just want to be authentic in everything that I try to write.
Well, I am a crime buff. I'm the Criminal Minds person. Now, let me go back. I'm the Marcus Welby, MD, and the Dr. Kildare, okay? I'm way
That's
back
right.
there. So you already have me with the NYPD Blue and all of that. So
That's right.
I think anybody who really likes those type of shows in the 40 minutes, yeah, I can take it. But if you like any of those, I think they will really like the way you write. One of the things that I noticed is you get right to the point. There's not a lot of extra fluff. It's let's get this solved and what is going through my mind. So I really like that. And I know that you're a new author since your book just came out, right? It was June,
Yes.
I believe, of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this about your authoring process. What did you like about the whole process?
I liked starting the story. I liked probably first 10, 15,000 words. That came pretty swiftly. And then it become a chore. It would become something where you was having to figure out, okay, what now, what next? And I enjoyed that exploration of those characters and what could be, what should be, and what was ended up in the book. So I enjoyed the whole creative process thing for that Colby PD novel.
Okay. In this whole publishing side of things, were there any surprises for you?
Yes, it was a surprise from start to finish. There was a lot of stuff that I thought just appeared on a book cover, because they liked your book. I didn't know it was paid for. So, and some of the stuff some of the amount they wanted you to pay, it was like, well, I really don't need that blurb. I can do without that one. So, I didn't want to pay for somebody to say good things about the book. I wanted it to be organic. I wanted people to actually like it and be genuine in their reviews of it. So that side of it surprised me a lot. And there was other little things that I really don't remember right now, but it was all an education.
Yes, and I think most people think that it's easy, the book just shows up and it's not difficult, but you're absolutely right. It can be difficult. How did you like that editing process?
I have read that first book and the ones that I'm working on now that are due out next year. I've read those stories so much I never want to read them again. And because you're looking at your manuscript probably 60 to 80 times, and you think, okay, I've got it. Well, I'll look at it one more, and you find a bunch more stuff wrong. And it just, people that tell me, well, I've looked at it 4 or 5 times. Well, you haven't looked at it at all then. So, but I've read those manuscripts and that story so much, I don't want to ever read it again. So.
Well, you probably lived with the characters all of this time.
Yes.
So
yes.
now you did say, let's go to the ones that you do have that are coming out. And I don't know when you said that 20 minutes, but okay, those that are coming out soon. Tell us a little bit about those.
Well, in January, I have a police leadership book coming out. It's called Lessons on Leadership, and it's about how police leaders can change their organization from what it has been to something more important, from transactional to transformational. And instead of just expecting stuff from your guys, how do you incorporate giving back to your department, to your city, to your organization, whatever it is? And I'm really proud of that one, because that's a lot of stories I collected and experiences of my own where I made mistakes and where I had success. I've also got a Western novel coming out later next year. That release date hasn't been determined. It deals with an outlaw from Texas going up to Montana trying to find a new life. And then I have several other drafts that I'm working on at the same time, in addition to writing the second version of the second book in the Colby PD series.
Okay, so the Western is not part of the Colby PD series?
No, there's going to be, the Colby PD series is a separate thing, and then the Westerns, because like I said earlier, that's where my passion is. I really love the Old West. I'm fascinated by it. So there's going to be a lot more Westerns than there will be crime novels, hopefully.
Well, that sounds like you do have a well-rounded area, because I like the fact that you're training the trainers, if you would, with the leadership. And yes. I can just see that going, a mile a minute, because it's truly needed. And that will help with some of the injustices that are going on when we start investing in others. So I like that. I truly like the Colby PD series, because I like the crime and the solving of the crimes. But then that Western is adding a whole new twist. So I can see that as an additional series for you.
I hope so. I don't know, maybe alones or something like that. But definitely the Westerns are going to be a big part of my future, or whatever other writings I do.
Any movies in the future? You think you're going to turn it into a movie?
Oh, I wish. I don't see that right now, but I think it would make a decent movie, a good movie, but we'll see.
Yeah, it could be the next NYPD Blue.
There you go.
See? We'll make sure we publicize that. Now, where can we find Family Secrets? I know I found on Amazon. It's available wherever books are sold.
It's available on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way to find it. Barnes & Noble has it, but Amazon's always easier. And it's available in ebook and paperback. Audiobook will be coming out at the end of January also.
Oh, wow. I'm loving that. Okay, that's a good one too. Did you
I hope so.
Well, did you do the recording for it, or did you get someone else to do it?
No, unfortunately, I have a voice that's not made for audio, so I did not narrate any of it.
Now, are you one of the characters in this book?
Some of the mistakes that my main cop character has made, I've made those, and some of the things, yeah. And some of the stuff that the chief has done, where you're like, man, he's grumpy. That's probably more me too.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good. And I think when you add that splash of color, of realism in it, I think that probably is what makes it, so good as well. So I really appreciated reading it, and I thought it was awesome. So I applaud you, number one, for jumping into the pond of being another author, but also for bringing light to, certain scenarios that we would then be able to take and see the humanity side of being a cop, and then understanding that it's, it's not this antagonistic relationship that we should have, but we all should recognize that our safety and security is important, and we put that squarely at the feet of police officers, and we're appreciative of all of that, what you do. So keep
Well,
writing.
thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate your kind words.
Yeah.
A quiet night in Colby is shattered by a crime that leaves a young man dead and a cop looking for answers. Police officers know evil exists, they face it every day, but the evil that looms in the city of Colby may be more than they can handle. A Colby PD novel by Ronnie Ashmore, available on Amazon.com.
So we're going to pretend you have a fairy godmother, and she says, say a name, any name, and this name is going to be a name of an author, and this author could be dead or this author could be alive. Once you say their name, you're going to end up magically either in front of a computer, paper and pen, or typewriter, and you're going to be co-authoring a book with this author. Who is this author? What kind of book are you writing, and why?
For me, I would say, I've got a couple different ones. I would say either a Beth Moore or a Joyce Meyer. And the reason I would say that is because we're in the same genre, writing to the same people, and our passions are similar in that we want to see people do better in life, and whatever tools or strategies we have for them to do that, regardless of the subject, I think we're all on the same page. Neither one of them write on finance, but that's okay too. It's still steeped in the theological portion of it.
Great. Ronnie?
Mine is going to be Louis L'Amour. He was the one I started off reading as a young kid, and he just fascinated me with his research and his attention to detail, his ability to tell a story. I think that would be very interesting. He would have to do most of the heavy lifting probably, but that would be very interesting.
That is the end of this episode of Writer to Writers Interviews. I want to thank Dr. Chonta Haynes as well as Ronnie Ashmore for taking the time to be on Writer to Writer Interviews. I want to thank you, the audience, as well, for always tuning in. And if you're new, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and to subscribe and to share. And if you've done that already, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day.